Avery, welcome to the stage, and
Thank you very much.
Over to you.
Okay, fantastic. I just learned a new vocabulary term, eat your own biscuits, so that will be coming back with me to the United States. Hi, everyone. If you're joining us, come on in. We're just getting started. I'm Avery, and I'm here today representing VaynerMedia. VaynerMedia is the modern agency of record with offices all over the world, including the lovely London, which was actually our first international office and has been a flagship presence ever since. And helmed by the one and only Gary Vee. We are an agency that really we're born in social media. We were born in the comment section, and since then we've exploded into a 360 agency that does creative media strategy production for some of the most well-loved and fastest growing brands in the world. And I heard the brief today was don't be boring. So what I'm going to talk about is flipping the media model on its head and how we're thinking about that in 2025 as VaynerMedia and for our clients. So we've heard a lot in our marketing world, a lot at places like MadFest, of this idea of paid, owned, earned economy. And we believe that we are entering the era of the owned, earned, paid economy based on the golden age that we are in today of organic social media. So if I think about the 6 kind of big buckets of marketing, you think about creative and you think about media, and of course strategy and analytics is across both of those. But we have our traditional channels. We heard today at this attention stage about AV, about out of home, about TV. There's those traditional channels. And then you have your digital channels that might be programmatic, and it might be search, and it might be your website. And then you also have your social channels that you can both post on organically and amplify with paid media through Meta and TikTok and Snap and LinkedIn and whatever other platform du jour exists. And all of these have different sort of weight. Brands have different agencies who focus on owned, or they focus on paid, they focus on traditional, or they focus on social. And all of these are 6 big important things. And the number one most disrespected format of this type of modern marketing is organic social media. I have worked with the biggest brands in the world, all over the world, from Singapore to Bangkok to LA to Mexico City. And when I get a brief from a big CMO, we're always thinking about that big idea. What is that big, unifying TV channel, rallying cry, et cetera, type of traditional media format? And how can we get everyone in the world to see it many times? And I see a lot of people smiling in the audience because we all know this brief. This is how we are briefed today as agencies, and how brands really think about marketing, or these sort of one campaigns. I'm here to tell you that organic social in 2025 is the number one place to be focusing your effort and attention. And here's why. Because in today's economy and in today's world, there's never been a better chance to post on organic social. Any single person sitting here with us today at the attention stage could create a single piece of content that is seen by millions of people. That has never existed before. A good creative actually has the ability to create its own reach, which has never happened in the history of media. So it's an amazing opportunity for us to as brands, lean into creating different pieces of content that we post on our own channels first, to understand what is working and what is resonating with consumers. If you think back to 100 years ago, if we could make a personalized print ad for every single person in London, and we had enough budget to do it, would we do it? Of course we would. But that wasn't possible for a number of different reasons, printing press and whatnot. Now we can create different pieces of content for different consumer segments on social and not pay a dime to amplify them until we figure out that is actually working and resonating with our consumers. And this isn't something that just works for the big guys or just the little guys. From everyone from Coach, which is a North American-based fashion brand and handbag company that we've rebuilt their entire business strategy rooted on social insights, to Open Door, which is real estate, to Gillette, which is the world's most beloved razors, we can test things on organic social that ultimately inform our big campaign ideas, meaning that this model has really flipped. We can't buy attention the same way we used to be. Media weight can only take us so far. You can create it through driving relevance, and by creating creative that actually drives views and drives engagement, and then amplifying it with our media. I'm certainly not here to tell you paid media is going anywhere. It's not, but if we can find creative that is already working with our consumers and take those ideas as the ones we scale up instead of guessing, that is a completely new paradigm for us. And the old model was very focused on this idea of starting with what our big idea was going to be and figuring out everywhere to place this across London or across the UK or across Europe. Everything started with paid, right? What is this hero campaign? What is the slogan and how can we get it everywhere? And then, of course, there was earned. How can we get PR agencies to get this seeded out with the right people? How can we get this on the BBC? How can we get this on various news channels? And then came owned. Oh yeah, let's also take this and make it a social cut down. Let's put this on our website. Let's make sure that it's kind of matching luggage throughout. And this is how most of us in this audience grew up thinking of how marketing worked. Now enter this new model where our owned channels are an incredibly rich environment for us to not only test new ideas, but actually create reach through them. I was mentioning that the social formats have really changed. Prior to TikTok, it was really based on how many followers you had on your channels. So you basically amassed followers. It was like email marketing. Okay, great. I'm going to get 1 million followers. I'm going to get 10 million subscribers, and then they will be able to see every time I post, a certain percentage of them will see. That has changed. TikTok came around and said you can have 0 followers and 0 subscribers, and millions of people can see what you created. And we know this is true when it relates to things like elections and things like social content creators and things that go viral that you all see as consumers. But when we think with our brand hats on, we're like, oh, I only have 50,000 followers. Doesn't make sense to do it on organic. The era of interest media has ushered in the fact that brands can take advantage of that same magic that content creators are using and that viral moments are coming from. So if we think about our owned channels as a real priority to create, then we also see like what's working. We might have one post where we get 10 views and one post where we get 50,000 and one post where we get 790,000. And we're like, oh, wow, that 790,000 view post is there's something that's really resonating with consumers in that. Let's do more of it. Let's amplify that with paid media. Let's make sure more people hear and see about this. And once you get a taste of it as a marketer, you cannot unsee it. For so many clients, like they sort of get it. And then when we have that first post that really hits for them, that's like, oh my God, everybody is talking about Mountain Dew. Oh my God, we sold out of these jeans. What happened on TikTok that they realize this is not just a vanity metric, this is a business driver. So we find what's working with owned that inherently amplifies into earned. Publications also follow, like what's viral today. And then certainly we need to put media weight behind it to make sure that we have the reach and the frequency to drive this message forward and link to our business results. So the punchline is that modern marketing is really starting from an owned first perspective, and the owned medium du jour is organic social. This is not something that we can just pay our way into. This is something that we actually need to earn our way to relevance, and there's never been a better way to do it. So I want to be really practical with you all today of like, what are 5 things that you could do today to take home to get this started? The first thing is to think about your platform and your handle strategy. This is actually something new that we've been like baking in the oven at Vayner. But a lot of pushback we get from various clients, especially the big brands, is like, oh, I don't want to post too much on Instagram. I'm worried that this won't feel like my brand. How is this all going to work? We're like, okay, no problem. Let's create a different handle that allows us to have that organic social magic testing ground where we can talk about whether it's a specific audience that we want to reach or a specific product we want to launch, something like that. I'll give a few examples. Netflix, this one's a great one, has a comedy handle called Netflix is a Joke, where they just talk about comedy. We also have LVMH, the most premium brand in the world. What handle is this? I hope you can see it. At Skateboards, where they talk about streetwear culture. And then you also have examples, which is right here, which is the unofficial account that connects LVMH to skateboard culture. You see this in recipe content. PepsiCo Foods has a great handle called Flavor, where they lean into recipe content. So think about creating a handle that gives you the permission to lean into this organic social magic, whether it's on a specific pillar or a specific focus area, if you're getting pushback internally of, posting too much or what are people going to think. Second is you need to build this modern creative and production team yourself. This could be through agency partners, or this could be through a team that you're building internally, but creating a team that puts social at the center and really takes this seriously is paramount. And a lot of people are crippled by the anxiety of posting, or I have to write a caption, or how do I edit a reel? And the best advice is start by starting. Everyone starts with 0 followers. One day Gary Vee had 0 followers. This is just life. But focusing on the production and the making is such an incredible opportunity. And by the way, this has never been easier. With the tools that exist through generative AI, this makes it easy for anyone to be a video editor, anyone to do a green screen, anyone to write a funny caption. So, take 20% of your time for strategy and planning and researching, but 80% of that time should actually go into making, because the more opportunities you have to post, the more opportunities you have to be relevant and to find that thing that's ultimately going to be the unlock. We also have to keep in mind measurement. We have to measure what matters. And this is a thing that there's always so much debate around. Certainly, shares matter, media weight matters, but the thing that we believe is the #1 indicator of relevance today is organic social views. And this is something that is publicly available data. You do not need to pay a penny for a fancy tool that tells you this. Anyone can see on an individual reel how many views were achieved organically through that piece of content. And what's really cool about this, getting back to what I mentioned around the non-follower era, is that when you make something that's really good, you're going to see that 97.4% of the people who saw this ad do not follow you. So you're actually creating that relevance that helps you break through to a new generation of followers. This is another metric we love to look at, is especially for I think this was an example from, this is a good one, Miralax, which is a laxative company that is part of the Bayer family of brands. This was a great example of one that went, super viral, that was based on a really strategic insight that performed really strongly in the market, and ultimately has been scaled up to something that's driving D2C results. So think about organic views as our KPI. That's what we're looking at as our first signal. And then take what works and actually move it into paid. Don't let it die just on organic. Once something is working on organic, let's either turn that into a piece of more well-produced content or directly amplify it through paid media. Too many times I see creative and media going like this at each other of it didn't work, it was the creative, it was the media team. Ultimately, use what we're already seeing as working as an indicator of what you should be amplifying on paid. And here's a little example of how this can be an always-on feedback loop to find right. We post something organically, it's working well. Okay, great. Let's amplify it. Does it beat our benchmarks? Great. We move it into paid. Does it beat our benchmarks again? Amazing. Should we take this into other channels? Social is not the end-all and be-all, right? Is this idea so relevant that it should be an out-of-home, that we should do an audio ad behind it? Use this to find that flywheel and always be creating to find that next big idea. My other tip for you here, we're literally at an event where there are so many amazing opportunities to create content. If you are doing an event, or your brand is doing an event, if you have an in-store activation, if you have something that you're sponsoring, use this as a content engine. There are so many bright, cool colors here. Use this as an example of a place to create content yourself, to talk about your brand or business. Probably in the audience, we have many folks who are in the world of advertising sales or SaaS sales. Use this as an opportunity to test and to create, and maybe post it on a platform where you're professional self, like LinkedIn. I always tell our teams, if we are having one event, we need to have 100 pieces of content come out of it. And that could be a million things. It could be mini mic interviews. It could be reels. It could be tweets. It could be posts on, for threads. But anytime you're creating an event, there is an opportunity to explode your content creation by leveraging what you already have. So this is something that we really believe is a huge opportunity. And I'm seeing a lot of brands in the US lean into it, and it's starting a bit in Europe. And then my last tip is the easiest one, but the best one. We all know that we are living in this world where people are running to the comments. You see a funny video, you see a smart video, you see something that's trending. Everyone is being a keyboard warrior and firing off in the comments. If you're a brand that is having a hard time driving relevancy with certain demographics, understand what they pay attention to and start commenting. We all see those brands that are funny, that are doing this already. You don't have to be Wendy's or Wingstop to do that, right? We can be any brand that's chiming into the right conversations and really using your comment section as a creative place to play. And this doesn't mean just commenting on your own posts. This means find what your target audience cares about. Do they care about running? Amazing. See what runners are talking about, comment there in an added value way. But we really feel that commenting is this new opportunity for brand positioning and for expanding relevance with different cohorts as they engage with the things that they love online. This is an easy one. Everyone has two hands to do some commenting, so give it a try, and you will be shocked to see the insane success. Millions of views on comments, billions of earned impressions, 343,000 likes on a comment from Cetaphil. Like, the relevance that you can get for free through being smart about commenting is there for the taking. So to recap here, we talked a lot about how we are in the owned, earned, paid era. And we talked about a couple little tips of how to get there. One is think about your handle strategy. Does it make sense to launch a handle that gives you a little bit more freedom to explore? Second, build a social-first team that thinks about making just as seriously as they think about ideas. Third, unite organic and paid. They are best friends. They are not enemies. Use events as your content engine and have some fun with commenting as creative. I promise these 5 ideas are tried and tested on the Vayner standard. If you give them a try, let us know what you think. I'm Avery from VaynerMedia. I appreciate everyone gathering to join us. What an awesome, good-looking bunch of folks. I hope you have a wonderful MadFest. And if VaynerMedia can ever be a help to you, hit us up. We've got a great team based in London.